Previously in reviewing Just Stab Me Now.
Yeah, I picked this up. I think she mentioned it again in one of her videos, so I went and I looked it up, and I was like, oh, it says it's clean. This is great.
Mm-hmm. And it is clean.
It is.
And it is available in hardcover now.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's...
Well, pre-order for hardcover.
I first looked through by reading part in Libby, and I was like, oh, Mom's going to enjoy this. Returned it on Libby, got us both a copy, and I said, we're reading this together. Because this is a review, but it's more of a discussion. I think that's going to be more fair, because that's what we're planning on doing for Mansfield Park when we finish. Mm-hmm. You might see a few of these, just because it can be fun to have a discussion. Now, this is a bit different because this is a book that maybe many of you haven't read. I do recommend going to read it.
I highly recommend this
You weren't sure if you would keep it initially.
I was not sure that I was going to read it. The idea is right up my alley. Mm-hmm. I started it, and to be quite frank, I wasn't sure I was going to like it. Mm-hmm. And it took me about a chapter or two, to get really invested in it, and things started picking up. And when I met certain characters, I was done. I mean, I was hook, line, and sinker.
So we are back. In case this is, I don't think this is where we'll break off, but in case it is, I can always edit this out if this isn't. Hi, my name is Talia. I am from Talia Nerds Out.
I'm Marlecia from Marlecia's Meanderings.
And this is most likely her channel if this is actually where we get started.
Marlecia's Meanderings.
But if it's not, you won't even see this.
But we wanted to kind of touch on...
this one might be more spoilery.
Yeah, this probably will be more spoilery. And this one is going to probably start off with the idea that the author thinking that she controls the narrative. And
right.
We all know that that's not the truth.
And I actually wanted to start it off with some of the things that we've talked about creatively. And this is in her area where she has her ISBN and who this is published by. She has written, "This is a work of fiction. The names, places, characters, events, locales, and incidents in this volume are either products of the author's imagination or used fictitiously. Any resemblance to real persons, living or dead, is coincidental, aside from the resemblance of certain characters to the author, which is entirely intentional."
And that line is like Jill in the nutshell. It's like her.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay? And I don't know Jill. This is just based on her videos.
Right, what we've seen of her videos. And I've been watching Jill for years on and off.
And I haven't. I just started, but she's funny. She's funny as heck.
I've been trying to get you to watch. I think on and off I've sent you a Jill video where you might have watched it and then life happened. You weren't as much on YouTube at the time.
Probably during Lent. Now, I wanted to read. You want me to read this, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is her dedication, if you will. Mm-hmm. For my mother, who always wanted me to be a novelist. For my viewers, who made me write this book. And for my husband and daughter, who put up with me while I did. And that, I can attest, there's no statement truer than that. Well, you have to have the support of your family or it's not going to happen.
I've always said that writing is a jealous mistress, where it does not take a part of your life. If you are writing fiction particularly, it wants everything.
It invades every aspect.
When you're on a roll, and I've seen this also, I think it happens with most creative processes, because I noticed it with writing crochet patterns, sometimes with knitting patterns as well. But with crochet patterns, particularly when I was doing toys and forming the faces, having to do the math with that, when I was on a roll, I could go without sleep and I could go straight for hours and finish a pattern. Writing is very much in the same way. It's that you get those creative juices going and you can burn the candle at both ends and you don't necessarily feel it at the time because you're so in that world.
I used to do that, burn the candle at both ends, and I would get up real early with my husband to go to work, and I wouldn't go to bed till around midnight. And I couldn't do that now. I'd probably kill myself.
Well, I think you were about my age at the time. My age now at the time.
Yeah, about maybe give or take a year. Yeah. It's a long time ago. I'm older than Dirt.
But Dirt would have an argument about that.
Yes, probably would. Because Dirt has to argue about everything.
Of course. But
yes, we characterize everything, personify everything.
But what I also, so this is where we might get spoilery.
Yeah, so if you don't want to have spoilers, you don't have to watch it. You can fast forward through it.
because I want to go into some of the ways that she handles the tropes and how it actually either gets. We'll try not to give like the really big things away.
Well, we won't give the plot away so much. You might give
Yeah.
away some things about the character.
So when you start off, and I think this is fair enough, when you start with your, first chapter, it's not really giving anything away. You have your main character complaining because why is the queen doing this? Why am I being sent as an envoy by myself with one guard?
Right.
And it has your typical like sort of contrived reason. Oh, everyone happens to be sick. And you can definitely see Caroline's hand in this.
Right.
Whereas like I need her to go by herself with this one guard,
Because of the trope she wants to do.
She wants enemies to lovers.
Yes.
And her character is just like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. I'm worried about this mission you've sent me on.
And getting XYZ done.
And you're talking about some sort of weird random trope that I don't even care about.
Understand or whatever.
Yeah, it's just like, I'll just shut you up and like
Whatever.
live my life.
And she starts, she brings people in that the way she brings them in, okay, when she brings Robin in, you don't really know anything about him except that he's a childhood friend.
Right.
And he's an interesting character because he lends himself to being almost anything.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't quite know what side he's going to fall on right away.
Right.
And he's loud and bombastic and fun and just you never know where you stand with him. He's a really interesting character for moving the plot forward.
Yes, he is. And so you have where she'll set up tropes and either your characters will outright question them because they seem silly the way she set it up. It doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Why does there only happen to be one bed? Well, that's fine. She says that she wants to be by the fire because she's wet. I'm going to just let her do that. Well, aren't you as a gentleman going to offer her the bed? I'm not a gentleman. I'm a peasant.
Besides, I did offer.
I did offer.
No.
She said no. So no reason for both of us to sleep on the floor. Yeah. So it's like the things that
and he's not as bad as it looks. I mean, it's just funny.
Yeah. It's just
a way of her. The trope being turned on its head.
Yes, where she intended something to be set up. She wanted at least the sexual tension. And she's like, we've got other things to be worried about. I have what I'm supposed to be doing. She has what she's supposed to be doing. And now we have this like stupid person like bothering us.
In the oddest hours, I mean, doesn't let us sleep, doesn't let us eat. All of a sudden, everything just stops, and here's this random person.
And they don't remember it afterwards.
They don't remember it after, although they have the strong impulse to do something.
Right. I mean, they'll remember it when next time she comes and visits them.
Yeah, but not when they're living their lives. Because like Caroline said to Rosamond, she said, you can't know what's going on in your life. You have to find it out for yourself, which is really frustrating for the character, but
right. Well, what I also enjoyed, she has a conversation with Rosamond, and Rosamond, you have the character then commenting on Caroline's life and her frustration. Caroline's life starts getting...
That's further along, though.
Yeah. I don't think it's even too much way when that starts happening. And then she says, well, I can't be doing that now because that has real life consequences. And you have this kind of like silence between her and the character where she's been trying to get Rosamond to do all these things. And in her head, she's like, of course, these are characters. It's not real life consequences for her. But for these characters, these are very real life consequences. And they don't necessarily appreciate Caroline's less life and death issue being given more weight than their life and death issue.
Well, it reminds me, and we talked about this, it reminds me of the movie Last Action Hero, where Schwarzenegger's character says to the kid at the movie theater and the person who runs it, what you see is so amusing is my life. And I'm misquoting it terribly, but you get the idea. What you find so entertaining.
I think that movie's kind of a sleeper. Apparently it didn't do well.
Yeah,
it bombed, apparently. It was just so sad.
Yeah, because I think it has a lot...
Is a lot of creative potential, and I thought they handled it very well.
It was very well handled, and I just wanted to use that because of what we were saying about how the real life for the character is that's real life for them. They don't Caroline is the author for Rosamond and for Leo and Robin. She's just this weird being that keeps showing up, and for all they know, she's part of the celestial choir and she doesn't have any problems.
Well, yeah, and we've talked about this in regards to, and this usually comes up with two of my characters, where whether or not our characters believe we exist, we have, most of them seem to agree that we're like the creator. Whereas I have one that's hedging his bets.
Of course he is.
And then one who just simply doesn't believe I exist, and he doesn't care even if I did.
No, I mean, if he thinks you're stupid, he'll try to manage you. So,
or if he thinks that he can't manage me, he figures that it's not worth even worrying about unless I become a threat. So he'll just pretend I don't. It's not even pretend I don't exist. It's just that I cease to be important.
Yeah. He just, although that character of yours, though, he does tend to believe what's told to him.
It depends on the circumstance.
It does.
And who he's dealing with.
It does. Whereas most of mine believe that there's someone out there, that most of my characters believe that I am in charge. If I'm not the creator, I'm somebody high up there.
Right.
And so...
but that's sort of touched on in this story, the character's belief with the author. Because the characters actually know their characters to a certain extent. Because they recognize, okay, this is the author who has control of my life. I probably shouldn't I think it was Robin who thinks they probably shouldn't make her too mad because of what she might be able. It was either Robin or Leo.
Might give her 2 heads or something.
Right. Like, they were like, I'm not sure what she's going to do if I make her too mad.
But to be honest, this is something that we're very familiar with, and that's this book here, and maybe a few others here and there. But most novels don't do this. They don't touch on the idea of...
Well, it touches the creative process.
But my point is that most novels don't touch on the idea, the characters aren't aware of their people. I mean, they may have the Force, or they may have this, but they aren't aware of someone out there, you know what I'm saying? Like their author. They're not aware of their author.
Well, I think the difference between something like you're saying the Force or whatever, there's a difference between believing there's a deity and still thinking that you're real versus realizing to a certain extent that you are not real to the person who put you, like you're a character in a book.
Right.
And the characters to a certain extent have that realization, at least when they're talking to Caroline.
Well, in this one they do, but I'm saying in most books...
No, most books they don't.
They don't.
The closest you come to is Last Action Hero.
And that's not a book. It might be a novelization now, but...
Deadpool does it.
Oh, Deadpool, yeah.
At least in the Daredevil Deadpool comment I read, because he mentioned something about, offhanded thing about someone reading the comic or whatever, or about the reader...
turning the page or whatever.
And Daredevil, Matt looks at me and was like, who are you talking about?
Who is this person of which you speak?
But because he always is saying things like that, people just think he's crazy.
Which is not untrue.
No.
But
that's why it works for that particular character.
Yeah. But, so this touches on that, where... the level of awareness of the character.
And I think it is important that they don't know it inside their own world, because then it keeps you from having that idea that they're kind of insane like you do with the Deadpool.
Right. And also
it keeps the continuity of their world.
Right, because then you start going into different areas. This is not a space book where you have, telepaths or whatever. This is
it's also not a book where the two times are going to really intersect.
No.
You're not going to have Rosamond truly come to Caroline's world or vice versa. There is that barrier of author and character. There's definitely...
The other one that's like that is the movie Free Guy.
Yes.
I think it's Free Guy, right?
Yeah, it's Free Guy. The video game one.
Yeah. And...
because it's not the same as Truman Show.
No, because he's not created.
No, he's not. But
I mean, in some ways he is. His life is...
But he is a real person. Whereas... Free Guy is truly, he was a code that the guy had
evolved.
Yeah. They had worked on it, and the way that developed. So yeah, it's Free Guy is probably pretty close as well. Free Guy, Last Action Hero, that kind of thing.
In this book,
with that kind of idea of the relationship between author and character. And actually, Free Guy does handle that, because you do have the actual author meet the character, although she actually invades his world.
The guy fell in love with one of the creators. But the interesting thing in here is that in this book, they have no qualms about throwing monkey wrenches in whatever Caroline decides she wants to put down. you know, from stealing horses and running away to you know, just not wanting to wear whatever dress or whatever,
Yeah.
you know.
And it happens when you're writing. You think you have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
We had for a good 10, 15 years, a good idea of where we had mapped out these characters for the 20 years of their lives. One day I read an Agatha Christie book, and there were relationships that made me think of some of our characters. And I'm like, this romance has to go a different way.
And we don't agree on how this actually happened, but yes, the result was.
Well, I think what it was, we had the conversation, but it took you longer. And then when you were ready, you broached it to me again. Because you weren't ready. You actually really liked the relationship that I didn't.
Well, it's one of these things that the character said she thought this because she felt this way about the other character. And so she felt beholden to this one. And it took us 10, 15 years to get to the point where she's like, this is the wrong person for me.
Yeah. Now, she wasn't quite as pushy as Rosamond, who's like, no, this is where it stops.
Well, she was pushy in other ways where she didn't push him to be interested in her, but she was.
Well, what I meant was pushy with the author.
Oh, with the author, yeah.
Where, like, you know, you'd have Caroline say, X is happening, and Rosamond's like, no, it's not. It took a while but that's the kind of situation I think of where you can have something completely turn on your head, sometimes major plot points, things that you kind of had your heart set on, and you realize it doesn't work for the character anymore, the way they developed as time went on.
Because they do develop on their own.
Well, especially with something we've been writing as long as we have, you know. When you've been writing something for 15 years or so.
The experiences mold what they become. I mean, they're just experiences, and things come out that you don't realize. This is what we're talking about with layers of characters that you're seeing in here as well, is that as the situations come up, other things come out, and that changes the feeling of one person toward another, or the way they interact, and who is actually meant for who, and who is actually the villain, and all that kind of stuff that you don't see maybe at first blush.
And it's what makes something like this work versus when you can feel an ending is forced. And I always think of, for example, the ending for Frozen.
Oh, yeah.
Where it felt like they did a twist villain, just do twist villain, and it wasn't built up well at all. It felt forced. It was badly done.
See, I thought when I think of that one, I think of the ending of The Last Airbender with the cartoon, with you know, where Aang ends up with Katara, and I thought that was absolutely awful.
They tried to set it up. To be fair for them, they tried to set it up, but they didn't do it well.
They didn't do it well.
It felt forced, but they tried to set it up, even if it didn't.
Well, I know there's one we agree on, and it's a movie, and that's Captain America.
Yeah, and we do actually technically agree on the Aang one. I can see where they tried to set it up. It wasn't.
Arguably, you could say they tried to set up with Cap too, but it's just didn't work.
They did a really bad job.
Well, it just didn't make any sense, and we're not going to go into movies because we do this, okay? We apologize for all of you who are really confused.
And I know this is going to be poor Jill. This is not a straightforward review of your book as it should be.
Well, there's so much to think about when you get into the book. Honestly, I would, if you're a writer, really take a look at this book. I mean, she does some very creative things.
And even if you're not wanting to, like, even just for the fun of saying, oh yeah, I kind of do that with my creative process. Or
even if you're one of these people who reads it and you really get into the story and find out, oh, it's not so weird for me to put myself into the story, you know, and that's not even if you write.
It's not, we're not even talking about like the self-insert Mary Sue.
No.
We're talking about where you're getting so immersed in the story where you can kind of tell where they're going to go next because you have a feeling for the character. And that's how you can tell a character is well written.
Or you're offended by something that happens to the character. Or you cry when something happens to the character or laugh with them or whatever. You're so invested in them. And this does a good job. It really does. And I know we've said this, I'm repeating myself, but it's true. The little character break, the little paragraph breaks in here for the... What are you looking for?
I just open to... I I thought that I appreciated the fact that she kept Rosamond's. Okay, sometimes you'll get these stories where if they choose to make someone a widow or something, that is a convenience that then you never hear anything about the other person again. Throughout, Hugo's dead, but Hugo is very much present
Right.
through the pages of the book because
In her memories, in the remembrance of other people,
in how it affects the way she moves. In fact, it affects the plot
greatly.
And sometimes you'll find that the trope is just, okay, we widowed this character because we want her to have the kids and we want to create a tension kind of thing, but they don't necessarily put the effort into making that character that passed seem like they were a real part of your widowed character's life. And I thought that they gave the main character room to grieve. They didn't have her jump into anything unnaturally and right away because the author was ready for it.
Right. Well, she wasn't ready for it. She being Rosamond.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned it, I'm not sure in this video or another video, where, when the author meets her, interviews this character, why are you so old? She wanted a 20-something, and Rosamond is 36?
36, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Is Leo younger than her?
Yes, I believe it said he was
Yeah.
like just 30 or something
Yeah,
like
something
that.
like that. But it works so beautifully. I mean,
I think Robin said he had an image even of the note saying like maybe 17 or 18 was the original plan for Rosamond.
Oh, no.
Like that was like
Robin said that, or Henry did?
there was something like went across Robin's mind, like he had an image of some of like the things on Caroline's desk or whatever, and he felt like he saw a note that said Rosamond was supposed to be like, so she was saying,
Oh, Rosamond was supposed to be 17.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Mhm.
yes,
Yeah.
and didn't decide that she wasn't going to be
Yeah.
when she came into being, and it made us think about the fact that it seems like a lot of, even though we were able to then pick out later on things that didn't match our theory, but how a lot of times you can think of, particularly books that are clean, you have the heroes being young. And a lot of times because you're going through that hero's journey thing, they aren't really set up yet. You have a book of fully mature characters. Actually, you don't really run into anyone who's terribly young until much later, and that's Rosamond's kids. And they don't run in that age of I mean, I guess her son could have, if someone wanted to focus the story on him, he could have been about the right age for some of those.
Little young.
Little young. But it was very much of this is not going to be your typical hero's journey type story. This is not what Caroline wanted, but what she got was a more mature, thoughtful story that dealt with grief, that dealt with
second chance,
intrigue. I guess you say second chances, and it dealt with learning to not have to do everything
right
yourself.
You don't have to be learning to.
Because on one hand, you have the one character who needs to learn to accept help from others, and then you have the other character who has to learn how to stand up for herself. And then they both have something to learn from each other.
And the process is fun to watch.
It is.
It's very entertaining to watch. There's a good amount of tension in it without being overwhelming.
Yeah. And it's not all going to be the, like you'll talk about how some of the best shows is like once they got rid of that will they, won't they, the show kind of flopped. Whereas you didn't even have necessarily a will they, won't they for this. It was more...
Well, they kept thwarting that.
Yeah. They weren't interested in doing a will they, won't they. They were more... What you had was acknowledged or unacknowledged attraction, and then either being like, this is not the time for this, or this is inappropriate.
Well, what I was seeing in that was more of a overcoming distrust, learning to trust people. because neither one of them trusted the other
Mhm.
for whatever reason. I don't want to say what because that's a plot point. But
Yeah.
Learning to trust each other
Mhm.
and to be able to depend on each other so you
And-
don't have to stand alone.
And there are, you'll see those themes in other kinds of books,
Mhm.
but because you're dealing with more mature characters, I think that to a certain extent, you don't get quite the same drama that you do with a younger character. While it's still, I don't know, it's the way that it's handled is just going to be different.
Mhm.
Because the concerns that these characters have are more of the things that you would think about as an adult versus some of these younger characters. Your younger characters sometimes are thinking more of the adventure and the this and the that.
Although, go ahead, I'll get to it.
Rosamond, her thought process is, I have a family to protect. My main goal is my family, is always going to be my family. That is, I can't focus on my grief. I can't focus on my feelings. I have to do what I need to do to protect my family. And that is Rosamond's overwhelming driving force. She's not looking for adventure. She's not, some of these things that you'll see with characters now. Actually, I think younger characters forever, like you'll see this kind of like, I want to go on an adventure. I think we're seeing more female characters now having that. But in general, it's just been something that you see when you're dealing with younger characters. But because Rosamond is a more mature character, I think that you're seeing a more mature motive.
Well, I think Leo's motive is more oblique.
Mm-hmm. It's duty.
His superficial, his surface level motive is duty. His
Mm-hmm.
queen asked him to do this, but the reasons behind it and the subtext underneath that as it goes on
Mm-hmm.
is more nuanced. And I think that is fun to watch unfold because, again, it bleeds into the trust issue.
Mm-hmm.
I think both of them, she finds the trust coming into play, where she worries about him as well as her kids
Mm-hmm.
and her family. And it's interesting when the kids come in
Mm-hmm.
because they throw a whole different dynamic in.
Mm-hmm.
And, is it going to be more difficult? Is it going to be easier? Are they going to accept him? Are they not going to accept him in whatever role he chooses to play
Mm-hmm.
or is going to be playing in this part of their lives? And that is definitely something that was interesting to read, to see how it panned out.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, you can argue maybe the resolving of that particular tension might have been a bit quick, but I still think that it...
Yeah, I'm not sure that was overly quick because they never say that. All they say is that it's being a work in progress, and it's not going backward.
Yeah.
They're not saying that it's all roses and whatever. They, it seems to be moving forward, even if it's moving forward slowly. And I'm not saying how quickly it is. I'm just saying even if.
And I guess things happen to make them more open,
especially given the situation that they find themselves in and how he reacts to it, how Leo reacts to it.
The politics of the area play a huge part
Mm-hmm.
into it.
Mm-hmm.
But in such a way that everything that happens goes towards character development as well.
The villain is one that you love to hate because he's really thoroughly despicable.
But honestly, to be quite frank, he doesn't really come in until the last part of the book.
He's mostly in the background.
Mm-hmm. You have things happen around. Yeah, you have things happen around where you know that there's people moving things behind the scenes, and you know that they're actual threats. But for a large part of the book, the focus is the character's own issues causing issues.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the development we're seeing. The layers being peeled back and how they deal with, suffering or pain or loss or trust or whatever.
Then, of course, a huge part is what probably makes it so you don't really see the actual in-story villain for such a long time is because a lot of the tension comes because of Caroline. That is the other subplot is, okay, I guess you could argue there's
two villains.
There's two villains, but I was like thinking you have like the part where she's really where she's affecting their world and affecting the way they act, insofar she badgers them. I mean, sometimes they'll ignore her, and sometimes she'll just throw things at them. But I'm not sure where I was going with that.
I do not know. You didn't say.
But she
That she badgers them sometimes, and they throw things at her.
yeah.
But do you mean figuratively or literally?
So should sometimes say they wish literally, but you know, I don't think it would take.
I know that she makes them uncomfortable, like showing up in their dreams and stuff like that.
Well, they can't get away.
Well, like she gave Rosamund those nightmares, and
Yeah. A typical example of also authors torturing their characters to make things go forward. But yeah, I mean,
well, it's an interesting turnaround when things get further along. She's concerned with how Rosamund is feeling. Is she ready? Is she
yes?
As opposed to, well, this has to be done.
Well, you see, and it's almost like seeing the development of a author's relationship with their characters. At the beginning, she's more focused on crafting the world. She wants this trope. She wants it to follow this form. It's like she has her outline in her head that she wants to follow. But as she gets more involved with the story and gets more of a feeling of her characters, becomes more of an author, she finds that she actually is concerned about her characters a bit more, not just because she's worried about hitting certain plot points, although it's still kind of important to her, but is my character ready for this yet?
And when you think about it for a story, that's what makes it flow. I mean, you have to have them ready. If they're not ready for it, it's probably going to feel like it's forced.
Right, exactly. At least to those who are sensitive to storytelling. I think, though, even if you're not particularly sensitive to that sort of thing, you kind of know intuitively something's a little wrong, even though you can't put your finger on it. You'll be like, man, that the story ended weird, or that situation weird. I'm not sure why it felt weird, but I didn't quite like it, or whatever. But you see your author develop a sensitivity to the characters in her world. And that's what we've been talking about with where with writing, it can sometimes have the danger of almost be like a role-playing kind of thing where you can get really deep into it.
Yeah, that's where the danger zone is, if you will.
Especially if you're writing two people together or more.
Well, even if you're not, I mean, I can attest to that. You get very, very involved with your world. I've had conversations in my head. No, I'm not crazy. I'm a writer. You hear the characters going on in your head and somebody's like, be quiet, let me sleep, let me do whatever. But they're insistent on what they want to do, and you see that in here, where they're insistent, and one character even has the nerve to do something unusual about that.
Yes,
he does, and she's like, "Wow, not the other characters don't do this."
Where do you get?
Who gives you permission to do this? So it's quite a unique book. I know if we were to rate this, I've said repeatedly I don't give 5s, but this would be really close. Maybe 4.8.
Yeah, because I think, and I could easily adjust the rating for this. I wasn't quite sure how to rate it initially. I think I went 4 because I wasn't quite sure to go 5 or not. But I would highly recommend it. I did really enjoy it. I feel like I need to reread.
Oh yeah, but not right away.
Not right away. I want to
experience it over again.
Yes, I want to re-experience it over again because I know I'll pick up more things. And I kind of want to, since we both read it now all the way through, we don't have to worry about ruining it for each other when we want to discuss it again. Because at some points, one of us would be ahead of the other, and we'd have to be like, okay, well, when you get to this point, or we'd be like, you're close, sit down and read it, and then we can talk.
Right.
But I think that in future rereads, because we're both familiar with the book, it's not going to be like no, don't tell me yet, I'm not there yet. It's going to be like, oh, yeah, let me refresh my memory.
And we both had to say that during this read.
Yeah.
Where, okay, I'm not there yet. Or we write something on Storygraph. Thankfully, Storygraph blocks it.
Thank heavens for the Storygraphs thing with a buddy read, where just like, they say you're not here yet, don't read that.
Do you want to read
Yes. So it gives you the option of spoiling it for yourself or not, which is very nice, to be quite honest with you.
I think we've pretty much exhausted this now.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm sure we've repeated ourselves
many times.
I'll probably end up going through and seeing how much, is fluff or whatever, particularly for that first video.
But you know what? That's what we are.
And that's true.
What we are.
That's true.
I mean, we have stuff in that fluff part that should be kept.
And that's true. That's true.
Yeah, and you use your editorial skills by all means, but keep in mind that
I'll be very judicious with it. I won't be just like cutting everything, and I want to make sure I show the respect to Jill's work, that we don't spoil too much, while also giving her book the kind of attention it deserves. The hard thing about when we discuss this book is we also go into our own creative process, because that's what this book really kind of represents for us. First of all, it's a creative process, but while it's doing that, it still presents you also with a very good story. It's, very straightforward. I'm not saying that,
No, it's not convoluted.
It's not convoluted, but it's very character oriented with a plot that makes sense.
And enough descriptions so you can see what you're doing. Not an overload of descriptions, which I don't.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I prefer more minimal descriptions.
Because fantasies oftentimes are guilty
Well, a lot of times they need to be more.
And that's true. That's true.
But not so much that you're like, oh, gosh, okay, get to it.
And because you're very much in the characters' heads for this, it makes sense for these particular characters to just take note of what they need to. And sometimes when you're dealing with a fantasy, while you're in your characters' heads, it might not be, it almost is more of an omniscient point of view, so they can kind of describe the world more for the sake of the reader. Sometimes it's hard to bring it out slowly like you want to, as you do in this world, because I prefer this kind of thing where we see it as the characters see it, and we experience it as the characters experience it, so we put it together as we go along. And if the characters don't consider it important, why should we?
Right.
Unless
it's a mystery, and then you might...
Right, right. So, but even then, you're seeing it through the detective's point of view. So, I think that even with a fantasy, you could validly explain things. A lot of times, it works if you have they call them reader inserts kind of thing. Like, okay, well, even though the best example I've heard is, like, for example, Harry Potter, where you have a character who is new to the world. So because he's never been in this, he was in the Muggle world, and then he introduced him to the Wizarding world. You experience with him for the first time this world. You experience with Luke Skywalker for the first time the Force. It's not weird to explain these things to you because your main character is experiencing for the first time.
Right.
So that's usually where you can pull in description and stuff well without it seeming contrived, or while still keeping a more character focused versus omniscient point of view. When you're dealing with a character in the world, it can be a little bit more difficult, but that's where, and I think sometimes authors have trouble with that, let the reader build it.
Yeah.
Let the reader build it.
If you're aware of it, you don't have to describe the skyscrapers in New York. Everybody knows what the skyscrapers look like.
And even when you're dealing with a fantasy world, you give enough information, you kind of know what's going on. And I know sometimes when you're dealing with different races, like dwarfs or elves or whatever, or especially if you're dealing with a new one specific to that world, unless you have a character who's unfamiliar, it can be a bit hard. But you can sometimes bring that in even with things like if you have a generalization, like, oh, so-and-so's always behave like that. Kind of like dismissive. It doesn't have to be explanatory. And
you show it.
Yeah. And honestly, you don't have things where characters in here are explaining, like this, explain to each other how things work. Because sometimes it can come off really contrived. Well, as you know, X, Y, Z. But, I appreciated the writing style. I felt like it was, it moved itself along. It didn't really, bog itself down.
I missed my thing here.
Oh, okay. So, yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think we got another almost 40 minutes out of that, so.
That's good. So we might be able to split about, especially since I'm going to have to do a previously on.
So we want to thank you for joining us both here in Talia Nerds Out and in my meandering. Please let me know in my comments and or in Talia's if you think I should make my name
Mhm.
match, be Marlicia's Meanderings instead of Marlicia Muses, and I will do that if I get enough input. I might do it anyway, but I'd like to have your input to see if you'd be confused. And that's
Yes, I'm sorry for anyone who's hoping to get a more straightforward review of Jill's work. I hope you got enough of an idea to really check out the book.
well. I think we did give enough inserts about, we like this because of this, and this happened because of this. And
I'm
show
afraid that it
examples.
might come off confusing.
It might have.
So I do apologize for that. Jill's actual work is not confusing.
It's not. It's absolutely clear. And if you want to see more of her stuff, go to her YouTube channel. She has a playlist. She has everything. Everything is explained. She goes through everything. You can see the process.
And if Jill somehow watched this
Hi,
and
Jill.
lasted through the 2 completely unorganized videos, I'm so sorry if we didn't represent your work well.
But
We really enjoyed
we
it.
loved it, Jill.
And yeah, it's worth checking out. Obviously it's a fun story. I don't want you to expect like literature.
No. It's
a fun fantasy.
It's fun fantasy. It's a family friendly fantasy, and it
Try to say that 5 times fast.
no a family
Family-friendly fantasy.
friendly fantasy, and it's well worth reading.
Yes.
And that's what we really want to get across to you. Is it's really well worth reading. Very well done. And so we want to thank Jill for putting it out there, and apologize profusely if we confused you about it, because just go to her channel to see what she's got. She's Pip. Okay, she really is. Okay, she's a pistol too.
A pip and a pistol.
Pip and a pistol. She got red
Wow.
hair. She's got red hair.
Oh,
She can
is
be both.
that what makes her both?
She could be both. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
She can't even define what she means by pip and pistol. She'll say it and it'd be like,
It's self-explanatory.
I think it was pistol that I saw in the comment section of one of the videos I was watching.
And
I sent you a screenshot.
And I was vindicated.
No, it just means that someone else thinks in the same weird way you do.
I was vindicated.
And
So,
I bet they couldn't explain what it meant either.
thank you for joining us. Tie Nerds Out, Marlicia's Meanderings. We hope you have a wonderful day, week, until we see you again, one or both of us.
Go ahead, take a nap, recover.
Give yourself some aspirin. Okay. God bless.
God bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye.